I'm going to start by decorating my mug, and in order to do that, I'm going to be doing an underglaze transfer. So what I did first was I drew this frog to look like the Rana Dorado de Panama, and I transferred it as an image. I took just a simple picture of it into a Google Doc so I could replicate it and space it evenly apart so that when I do my underglaze transfer, all of the frogs will look relatively the same. So I printed that out, and now I'm using this light box to transfer the frogs onto some newsprint that will be easier to wrap around the mug. So I fixed the height so it's just slightly higher than the height of the mug so that I can hold on to the top of it when I transfer it. So this folded edge shows the width of my mug, and then I have this little extra bit to hold on to when I'm wrapping, as well as having it a little bit taller than the mug. That's going to make it easier for me to transfer. I'm going to go over the frogs with one of the designer liners in black, and then I will use my underglaze to fill in each frog with the yellow.
So these spots on the frog are actually black, so that makes this part pretty easy. And I'm not trying to get each of these exactly the same and perfect. They're enough the same from the design to capture what I want. I just want it to look like a whole group of these frogs is gathered around the mug. And if you don't know about these frogs, these are called Rana Dorado, which means golden frogs, and they're very poisonous. They are almost extinct. Very few still exist because of a combination of being hunted for their poison and then rainforest devastation. But there's a place called El Valle in Panama where you can actually go to still see these. And so I saw them a couple times as a kid. All right, so yesterday before I left for the day, I printed my frogs, and as you can see, some turned out pretty well and some not as well. Considering this was my first time doing this, I think it actually probably went just about how I could expect. The video I watched on using the sponge technique compared it to applying a temporary tattoo to your child, and I could not agree more, because this is usually the result I would get from doing temporary tattoos, where they would be smudged half the time. So what I'm going to do is, this is like well enough done that I can go in and do touch-ups. So that's what I'm going to do today, is I'm going to touch up any spots that need to be touched up. I'm going to start with the green slip, and then the yellow underglaze, and then the black designer liner. So working in order now instead of in reverse order like I did to apply this. I've done the touch-ups on my mug, and what I did was I went ahead and painted the bottom, since this is just stained slip and not like a glaze that's going to stick to the kiln shelf. I'm able to paint it the color to match the rest of it, and then when I glaze it, I can just leave a small section for the stilt to sit in. So this is going to dry, and then I'm going to come back in and touch up the yellow wherever I can. And then the last thing I'll do is to go over any missing lines or spots with the designer liners. so you can see here where I touched up the yellow with the underglaze. I'll have to just wait and see how that ends up. I'm a little concerned with the painting over the printing, that some of these areas will crack, but I'm going to give it a shot, and if it turns out well, I will glaze it with clear glaze when it comes out. And then you can see here where I started to touch up the spots on the frogs as well, so it's turning out pretty nicely. Still a few random spots that I wish would have turned out a little bit cleaner, but overall I'm really happy with it. And as long as it stays in pretty decent shape when I get ready to fire it, then it'll be good to go. So I'm just going to finish up adding these black, I'm going to finish adding up the black details to the last couple frogs, and then let it finish drying. Make sure that it's dry all the way through and not just on the surface.